kiss and hug me. Come on strong, go on and love me. Let's not waste that big old moon. Wake up and smell the perfume. Just say if you want to be more than friends. Got some love I'd like to make.
Live. Now we're live.
Yeah, we're live.
Okay, and you're experienced at this because I had one last Friday, my vlog guest hangout, and I kind of said, "Okay, guys, we're live," and they just kept talking or whatever, and they're like, "So when are we gonna go live?" It's like we've been live for 15 minutes. Didn't you hear me? Oh, I just want to make sure they're not dependent on me saying something. You can actually see the live broadcast.
Yeah.
Okay. My multitasker functionality is down, so just a second. I'm going to tweet this for anyone that wants to.
Oh, yeah, right on.
I don't know if anyone's watching it. It's like, I promise, I really am reading your tweets. So we were talking, in the Twitter chat, we're talking about list building for like 4 weeks. And talking about growing the audience. So sort of a balance between the email marketing. Well, actually, that's the name of the series is email marketing, but we're kind of talking about the social media.
Yeah.
And the question that is on my mind, not that this is all about me, Charles, but I love to ask you questions. So, quality versus quantity. We've talked about this, and you've quoted some people on Marketing Momentum. You've quoted some people that say it's about the quality, and you actually want people unsubscribe because you really want the people that are engaged and want to buy your product. Yeah. But I just had an experience today where it was all about quantity. And I think we talked about this last week, where it was you get like automatically signed up if you fill out the Contact Us form, and I personally find that offensive when people do that to me. They don't give me an option, but I am actually understanding why they would do that if they're going for quantity. If you aren't allowed to speak to somebody unless you have so many list subscribers, pretty soon you're signing up cats and dogs and babies.
Exactly. Well, yeah, and you know what? And email marketing, it is a numbers game, and when you start to look at it from the top down, right, those numbers matter because you're really looking at open rates and conversions. Now, I follow this guy, Ben Settle, and he thinks all that's BS. Open rates, conversion rates.
Ben Settle, BS, is that?
Right, yeah. But this guy's supposed to be a premier, email copywriter, and he says all that stuff is meaningless. He said because, number one, and he certainly talks the talk, when he says this stuff, and he says that you don't have a controlled variable. There's no way to tell. In other words, you never send an email at the same time every day. Your people don't receive it or open it at the same time every day, or they don't get it in their inbox at the same time every day. So to say that you've got an open rate that you can look at and really tell what's happening is just not true. So he might have a point to that. I don't know. I think it's still helpful to look at open rates because in a broad sense, it's a sense for whether or not people are looking for your email.
Mm-hmm.
And whether or not they're going to open it if you send it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So and it's I think it's interesting. Now I'm kind of starting back at square zero now, right? I've got to build a list myself. Now, if we're talking
you have
about
an awesome list, though, don't you? Okay, I don't know your list.
I have nothing. I have nothing. Well, yeah, and see now, I don't have one that's as it pertains to my show, which is my focus, right? So, but it's interesting. That list is really, in my opinion, it's the key to me being able to monetize.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to send them to a page where whatever's happening, right, where whatever it's going down, whatever my monetization model is, to say, hey, here's the show that just happened. I just talked to, I don't know, Osama bin Laden. Go check it out. It's right there on the page.
That should get an open rate.
Right, exactly. And then they go over to the page, and where whatever happens is going to happen. But if I say, and I understand the people who still are getting the SEO vibe, right? That I posted something to my blog, it showed up in the search engines because I did all the right stuff to people who were interested in Osama bin Laden. So they saw this article pop up today. It's fresh content. Google decides to, rank it, and then so I get the search traffic. Yeah, and so, but I think that the more reliable traffic for monetization purposes, right, is for me to send those people from my own list to the page, and whatever happens, right, whatever I'm trying to get to happen, I hope it happens, but I got the best chance of that, I think, if I can send them rather than them either tripping over themselves from social media, because God knows what's on your mind when you're coming from social media, and that, or for them coming from cold traffic from PPC. Ultimately, even if email is what everybody says it is, right? It's on the decline, which I don't believe. It's still the best and most effective way to send people to something that you have going on.
I think it's very effective. I can see where people say decline because there's a lot of noise out there, and I unsubscribe from anything I can to, like, purge it from my mailbox. But, still, when I get a reminder, even from Google Calendar or from my VC to scheduling, it's like, oh, yeah, that's right. I do have that. I mean, I know what my calendar is, but that email popping in because I'm constantly checking it, it's like, yeah, email still works for me. If you want to get a hold of me, like, get that email.
Yeah, I mean, who is it? The one lady that I had on, I think, with my with local podcast mogul, Larry Galloway, this lady who does does Mompreneur podcast, right? And she basically, she's basically kind of sending people, from her podcast, but it's still, really the same thing. It comes back to, do you have something that people are really looking forward to? And the people that are kind of into her, like, they are really zoned into her stuff, right? So, so I think, man, I know we've been saying this and it almost sounds like we're beating a dead horse, but you have to, I don't know any way around. At some point, you have to be the thing people are waking up thinking about at some level, right? You have to. It's kind of, oh, it's 3:00. I got to get to social web. I got to get to marketing momentum. I got to get to this thing. Because really, if you're not, what is this Hummingbird now? They're saying, Google is saying, well, we want to make it so that if you're giving answers, we're gonna boost you. Like, who knows what that, who really knows what that means? Only they know what that means. It could mean the search results change. It mean that they're not going to change. But trying to outguess them, I don't.
I keep picturing a dog that's going around chasing a tail.
Well, yeah, chasing their tail, but what if you're chasing Google's tail, right?
Then you're really messed up. I'm sorry. Now I've got two dogs. I'm thinking they're poo. They're not.
Right. At least if I'm chasing my tail, I know what I'm chasing. But if you're chasing their tail, you have no idea where they're going.
Exactly. Exactly.
So I think you said ultimately, and I'm not even feeling. I'm biased from my experience. I tried posting links to social media to sell stuff, right? And I know people do it, right? And unfortunately, I never sent people to a separate landing page, and I should have, because that would have given me some real data on, well, hey, here's how these people react to, a landing page when they come to it versus the people who I sent from email. Right? I don't really know that. I'm still thinking that if I have 50 minutes to spend, I'm going to spend 40 of them on email. I'm going to spend 10 of them put my offer in social media. right? Because there's this theory that social media is your list, your community is your list, and I don't know if that's true.
That social media is, you're saying, rather than the combination of the email marketing and the social media marketing?
Well, okay, so if somebody has me as their fan,
Mm-hmm.
right, they can get their message to me. If
It's more effective. Oh, sorry. Go on. You said if.
Yeah, no,
Oh.
I'm just saying. Well, no, I'm saying if I'm on Facebook or Google Plus, which I mean, tragically, I don't necessarily spend a lot of time reading this stuff. I think people in our genre,
Mm-hmm.
right? We probably put out a lot. I don't know if I read a lot. When I read a lot,
Do you want to admit
typically.
that? No. It's like I'm not reading your stuff.
No, I mean, it still comes back to I read the stuff of people I know. I'm too busy to do otherwise. And that's what's really got me thinking about this, right? Okay, I read an email today and it just caught my glance. Okay, Malcolm Gladwell's got a new something
I think I saw that.
out.
Was that an
I don't even know
Audible?
what, but you know what? I don't know. Yeah, I got an email and it just said he's got something new out, probably a book.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is that when I saw that, I'm going to investigate that. Right? It didn't happen because of search traffic. It didn't really even happen because of the email. I didn't read the email. It caught me. Right? I don't even know who sent the email. But the point is, I'm looking for him. Right? And I think, regardless of that, is SEO for situations and for people and for bloggers, if they don't feel as if they can become a destination on the web, I think if you can have both, it's great. But at some point, if you're not the reason somebody's looking for something, I don't know, long term, is that the right, is that a business? Is that a you know what I mean? At some point, somebody's got to come to me because they know they got to come on purpose, not an accident. And
Mm-hmm.
and so I've got to figure out how to invest my time so that somebody comes back to listen to my podcast or my radio show on purpose, right? Because they want to, not because I tricked them, not because I was cool enough to get to the top of Google, but because, well, man, I like this thing I just heard. I'm going back a second time. And you have to, that really is to me, my goal with this whole podcast thing is I don't want to depend on email. Right, I like email to get a hold of people, but I don't want to be tied to it. I want to be tied to somebody's brain, right?
I think it depends on whose brain. I don't know that that one, but no, I get what you're saying. Okay, we've been talking about this a lot in Marketing Momentum, and I still feel like it comes back to what people have been doing for decades, like before we were born, what works. Now, granted, you were mentioning open rates, and I thought we used to be a captive audience when we were watching TV, like decades and decades ago, because it was like, all right, at this time, maybe 15 minutes into the show, everyone sat down so we can run this commercial. Whereas now we can't control, like you said, as far as when the emails are open. And so we're dealing with a lot more variables than we did decades ago, and a lot more noise out there because people have the accessibility for marketing. It's not always the
Right.
dollars. But maybe it's just my personal belief, and I want to believe this, but I still feel like it goes back to first, before like building the audience, that you have to be able to have consistency. Yeah, I say that as I didn't actually post a summary last week because I'm doing something new. But anyway, consistency and quality are two things, so that you actually have foundation, and then you bring people in and they're able to see that pattern, that you're dependable enough to be there. But I don't know, am I weird that I think that you need to have that foundation?
I don't think you're weird. I think it just depends on, who's defining the quality and what the quality means, right? So if
Good point.
if the audience is bowlers, Tuesday night bowlers, their idea of quality might just be you know, who knows what their idea might be, but if you're talking to like this level of marketers who appreciate the quality, then then it matters. But I don't even think the quality is the central issue. I think the other thing is your issue, which is um, the idea that you're consistent, right? And that it's sort of like, and I think that's kind of like the first hurdle that people get over, which is, okay, you know what? This is my show. It's going to be on this day. It's going to be in this time. I'm going to be there all the time. And then I think what you're saying too is that there's a level at which it's going to be, right? So not only do I expect to be able to go to watch something like every whatever at 9 o'clock, but that also that at the very least it's going to be this high, right? I can expect that I'm going to get this, right? Sometimes it'll be up here, but I know I'm going to be able to get this, and if this is what I like, then that's great. I'll tune in, and then you have the opportunity to either send me to something you're selling, or send me something your sponsors are selling, or send me to a page where I'll buy something, which monetizes the thing. Um,
So maybe it's not okay. Maybe quality is just like my big word, so that's important to me and part of my objectives. What if we replace that with expectations? Like you said, the bowling group, maybe there's an expectation that they're wearing bowling shoes and bowling outfit, and they're all in the hangout and they're all talking bowling terms.
right,
That's the
right.
expectation, and that to somebody else, they might have a different level of whatever quality. And not that I'm calling bowlers not quality, but I mean maybe quality is the wrong assessment. There's a Twitter chat that I participate in on Thursdays, called GG Chat,
Yeah.
and a lot of times we have people, and hopefully I'm not saying anything that sounds negative, but anyway, we have people join in. They're like, "What's the topic?" And there really isn't a topic. Sometimes there happens to be a topic, but it's generally a hang loose bunch of musicians come in and just sometimes they randomly say, "Hey, this is on my mind," and then 3 minutes later, someone says, "Oh, this is." But a lot of it's, "Hi, how are you? How are you? Oh, I'm really tired. Oh, I love chocolate. I love all this." It's just so. To some person, they might define that as not having quality because it doesn't have a topic, but it's
Right, right.
about managing expectations, and the expectation is really that it's a social time.
Yeah, I think that's important. If it happens every whatever, and people know, hey, I'm going to get the chance to meet all these musicians, then I think that kind of thing is cool. But I guess going back to list building, I you know I just think it is and it's interesting. I think I wrote about this in I put the last touches on a piece of content on a content package that I did to kind of clean out this whole thing I've been doing, selling info products, and I did the last one today. And it's interesting because I talked about the fact that the list building is not email is incidental, right? Um, Database management is a fundamental principle, right? It just so happens that most of us use email, right? SMS is never going to work, right? You
Really? You
can't
think
sit.
so? You don't think it'll
I,
ever take off? Because you have a lot of background on that.
I
Or you
do,
find it-
but there are just certain things that I'm not going to read in an SMS message. Number one. Number two, we're not yet at that point where I am at that point where I can ignore a text message, right? So if
I can't.
you're
I'm
out
not
there,
that-
if you're sending me text messages and I don't get back to you, it's not personal. It's just I just ignore you because I just don't. It just doesn't move me. I can't. It's hard. I can't ignore an email, and that just could be just the way I process stuff. But I don't think that it's ever gonna be anything more than personal, right?
Doesn't
Personal.
it seem like it always comes back to that relationship building, personal? It always comes down to the person. And we're sitting here racking our brain, like, why isn't there like some fix that we push this easy button and all of a sudden it works and we're rich? Because it always comes down to relationship with people.
Right. And I don't know if business is going to be able to invade that space in a scaled manner consistently, right? If I'm doing, if you and I are doing $10,000 together, right, this month, I can text you, right, and I should expect to get you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're one of a gazillion people, and I send out a text message because you typed in win to 3475, right? One day when you were kind of fuzzy, that's not gonna cut it, right? Eventually, I'm gonna, what was I thinking about? Stop, and you get
Mm-hmm.
that stuff off of there. I think that SMS is intensely personal, right? It's personal. It's like where you have these conversations. Email, you can kind of receive a message, and you're okay with getting a commercial message. Now, I do receive text messages from my pizza guy, right? Totally cool with that.
From the company or actually from the pizza guy himself?
Oh no, from the company, right? Pizza Hut.
Okay.
So they got in, right? And so and because of my kids, right? I'm not gonna unsubscribe from them. But you're hard pressed to get inside of my SMS box if you're a marketer. Now, if you're a friend of mine, right, you're in there.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not yes, I don't know, and maybe your experience is different. It's hard for you as a company to get inside of my SMS box. Almost impossible for me.
I
don't even know how the pizza guy got in there, but he's in there now.
A block through my through T-Mobile because we got something, and then like when you respond to say stop, then they charge you $30. So we're getting like $90 worth of bills on 3 different texts, and I'm like, what is this? We're trying to say don't send this. So we literally put a block on it. And I'm not paying. It's one thing to get your unwanted text. I'm not paying you $30 to unsubscribe from something I didn't subscribe to in the first place.
And the reason you did that, I think, is because it's not for them. It's not for them.
Right.
You'd have been okay with it, right? But now it's not for them. So
they charged me. I'm not for it. Yeah, I'm instant enemy. You charged me. No way. And it would be different if it was legitimate. You charged me, and I just won $500. Okay, the ROI between 30 and 500. That's pretty good. All right. Yeah.
But did you I guess I ask people this now. My wife, she's into couponing and she gets all this stuff, so she doesn't really count. So she gets all this stuff. I don't, and I don't prefer to get them. And my friends don't get a lot of email that they get from companies before they get them either. And that's just my unscientific poll when I talk to people. And I always ask them, and they say, "Oh, no, oh, no," that kind of thing. So I don't know. I don't see it long term becoming replacing email as a way for me to get my message to you if it's longer than 2-3 paragraphs. And some things just require that to
Definitely.
me.
And I think our society, there's all the 10 years ago and the laws as far as spam and all these different things, but I think we're more accepting to get junk email as much as we may not like it.
But my feeling is that I've got to rebuild a list now of people who want to hear. Either I've got to find out what they want to hear in Harrisburg. Now I'm doing my show, getting good feedback, but it's got to be to the point where they have a desire to tune in every day. Right. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to a guy and he was saying, well, I don't really know where to find you. I don't care. To some degree I care, but to the other degree I don't. Right. I need to have.
Where to find you? Is that?
Well, yeah. And part of that's my fault. Sure. It is. And I fully admit that. I think what I want to be is I want to get a guest from Central PA that you'll find out about it. So when I tell you about it, maybe you might find out about it the first time, but when you hear a guest you really like and you find out there's going to be another one next week, you'll make it your business to get there. And so that is what I have not yet created. Like, I can kind of maneuver and kind of dance and weave on the show, but I still have not landed that fish that says, hey, I gotta go here. Hey, did you hear the CEO of whoever? He's gonna be on on this guy's show. I think this is where you get it. That's what I want to create. That's what I'm really working on first. Because if I work on all the other stuff, right, then the less it's the. I don't want to say less important because it sounds like I'm denigrating the practice. And I believe in social media. I believe in having tentacles out there. But
I'm sorry when you say, okay, I was just picturing some tentacles, and it's like, I believe in you. It sounds like, is he trying to convince himself? And then when you said tentacles, it's like, I don't know, is this one of those, like, you haven't decided if it's a lesser evil, but I love it anyway, or, I'm just picking on you.
No. But I think I want to have it so that there's got to be this draw, right? The draw is the thing, and that's been the epiphany that I've sort of learned, I think, over time, and I could be dead wrong about it, but that's going to be my theory, which is it's about the draw. It's not about the drawing. It's not about the hey, you need both. I know you need both, but if you have to spend an hour, 50 minutes should be spent on getting the draw, on the hook. And I always use the example, if I got Prince tomorrow, right, I wouldn't have to worry about social media.
No.
Yeah, Minnesota. Right. But
I could tell you stories, but we'll have to do that offline.
But you know what I'm
Just
saying?
kidding, Prince. No, sorry.
If you're listening, right? Yeah. So what I've got to do is I've got to figure out how to get into these corners and to get these fish. And if I get the fish, either I'll figure out how to get the word out about it, right? Even if somebody else has to pay for it. But I've got to get the draw. So the show is not going to be the show until I get the fish, right? And then and so that comes back to list building to me in this way. There's certain things, and you probably had the experience too. I don't even see the opt-in form, and we talked about that. I don't see the opt-in form because I want the stuff so bad. So I just, you know what I mean? So it's just, we don't even see, it's invisible to me. All I see is this guy offered me this audio. I have to have it, right? And so I can't wait to get it onto my hard drive. So I am going straight. So I go through the opt-in form to get the stuff, and the draw is the thing. So what I'm saying is I need a draw so that people will come charging through the opt-in form, that they're not going to fake me out and put their
Their dog's email?
Right. Fido at gaymindshare.com email.
Exactly.
And because they want it. And so maybe I'm overthinking that, but I'm just saying, okay, I got to get the thing. The thing has got to be the thing you want, right? And so whoever my audience is, like we talk about bowlers, so if I get Earl Anthony, right, not Earl Anthony, and I got an hour recording with Earl Anthony and how he got started, if you're a bowler, right, you're going to want it, right? So you don't even think about, I don't want to give this guy my email address or my SMS message. It's just kind of like I just want to listen to this. I want to listen to the interview. So I think list building is becoming, as you said, more. First of all, there's a lot of noise out there because everybody and their mother's got a free report teaching how to do something. 10 easy steps to, slap your mother. Everything. Somebody's got something for everything now. And so
10 easy steps to stop your kid from slapping you as a mother.
It's something on everything. And we can't learn that much. It's like at some point, the learning to get the free learning, right? It's rare when somebody really gives you the real good. So that being said, I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about the fact that the old model of I'm going to put a free report out there. I'm not saying it's saturated. I'm just saying everybody's doing it. So I don't know if people are going to be blinded or not. So you got to have something, I think, that even if it is that report, it's got to hit people so hard, right, that they can't bear another night without it. They have to have it, and they got to have it now. If that's what it is, they'll come and get it. You've got your list built, and I think, sort of the incremental, I'll be, those of us who are kind of in this age range, we don't have time for incremental anymore. I mean, incremental is a young man's game. I mean, I thought about this the other day. If I do a JV with somebody, I'm JVing with them so that they can send my stuff out to their list. If I pay $400 for them to email my stuff out there, I've got to make sure that $400 leads to X number of leads, not because I'm looking for exposure or branding or all this other stuff. I need people to be part of my marketing funnel. And so it's got to be something that they are gonna not hesitate to fill out that form and to get it, right? It's got to hit them so hard they got to have it. So I don't think we can think about that incrementally. It's got to kind of be the kind of thing that everybody in that target is really feeling it, and they got to want it. So
I hear you saying content as far, like I start with quality, then what was it, replace it. But even the consistency part, we're going back to having that content. I mean, obviously you can't just have a list and then have nothing to give them, but it comes down to defining the expectations, the quality, the consistency, whatever it is, it's that content.
Yeah, I mean, you did a call with who was it, Marge, right? And, and you guys got into nuts and bolts. Man, that's awesome, right? And if people understand what that is and why they have to have it, because it wasn't even about the interview. It was about what you talked about, right? That really, because I mean, she's kind of this heady kind of nuts and bolts person.
I'm glad you said and bolts because I thought you were calling Marge.
No, you're right. Yeah.
And
no, but she's got that whole intensity sort of vibe going on. She's kind of in this WordPress, and that created a good conversation where people actually got something that candidly, one or two things were actionable, even for somebody who didn't know anything. So that's the kind of thing that I think when people know what they're getting, they say, well, I think I'd like to have that, right? I think I would opt in for that. I need to get that because that 40 minutes, 50 minutes, that'll help me immediately, in my business. And so, yeah, I think it is the content, these days, and it's got to be more than the sort of prattle like, 5 easy steps to do this, which is good. I think it's got to kind of get down to that point where it's really and truly helping somebody. It's like really like somebody listens to it and they didn't just get something that they could have gotten in Entrepreneur Magazine or they could have gotten in Home Business Magazine, but man, it was just some kind of magic happened, and they got something that, God, I heard it I could hear it in my voice. I can go and I put that in my business. That's the kind of stuff I think when people know about it, they will opt in and then they'll come back to get some more.
Same thing I've said it before as far as Eileen Smith. And it's not like she's developed these products, but I know that she's tested them. So when she says, go try this plugin, go try this, whatever, she's tested all of them that are out there. And in her assessment, that one's the best one. So I know that I think, Charles, you've said this on our Marketing Momentum, where sometimes we pay for info products just so we don't have to go do all the research. It's not that the information is not available.
Exactly.
It's we don't. So when it comes to Eileen Smith recommending a tool or a plugin or something, even if I'm paying for it, I know that she's done all the work of evaluating it.
Right.
And she's saying, hey, this works for me. And when I look at her success, it's like, okay, if it works for Eileen and she's evaluated them, then it's going to work for me, and I go get it.
Right. No, I think that's exactly right. And it comes back to, she's really established herself, as not just a resource, but just kind of like, she's had success in a particular area, Now, she's generalized it to blogging, but she has had success monetizing a blog, something that not everybody can do. Not everybody has learned how to do. Just between us girls here, most, right now, I hope I'm not offending anybody, but most people who keep up a blog, they've kind of got their freelance thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Which means that even if the blog is carrying them, it's not carrying them enough. And so the blog is semi-monetized, but it's not the thing that's carrying. I get the impression that that's not Eileen, that she's figured out. And this other marketer, her name is Lisa Irby. I don't know if you've heard of her.
Yes. In fact, isn't that I think that was Eileen's mentor.
Could have been. Right.
Okay.
And this lady is fierce, but her blog is carrying her. So when she says something, right, as you said, it starts out carrying weight, right? Mm-hmm. If she says, hey, I looked at this product, she doesn't have to say buy it. She doesn't have to say, if she looked at it, then, and she's been able to get her, I don't know, she's been able to get her AdSense earnings up to $5,000 a month, then yeah, you got to take note of what she's doing, and you got to listen to what she's saying. And so I think anybody who's going to come to that point in whatever they do, when you've had a certain amount of success in an area, then you get the right to say certain things about a subject matter. And of course, it's interesting. I had a talk with a mentor, and he was talking to me about speaking. He said, well, you need to speak a little more. You need to speak from the stage. And I said, well, okay, I'll do that. I said, I'm having a little issue about doing that and not having done this one thing in this area. He said, well, your problem is, he said, you just made that up, that nobody's going to ask you to speak because you haven't done that one thing. So that's just in your head. So you said, first of all, you haven't asked anybody. So you didn't ask anybody in that area. Second of all, he said, you have no data. So how can you say, so you're telling me that, and I'm going to ask you how you know that. And I said to him, I said, well, that's just what I would think. He said, well, that's your problem, that you don't know because you haven't asked. That being said, it's interesting. It's interesting thing he said, but still, I think, when it comes to a website, that's the first person I think of. Right? I haven't read a lot of her stuff, and I can't even remember how I found out about her, but she's probably the first person that if I really had to dig up an issue, I'd probably go to Lisa Irby, right? As you would probably go to Eileen.
I think, in the interview, I think that's what Eileen had said, that she was her mentor. Okay.
And yeah, I mean, I was hunting her down because she's one of the few people who have actually she actually generates a full. Now, she's not all she does, but she has generated a full-time income from her AdSense earnings. That's significant, right? A lot of people talk about doing it. A lot of people talk about doing it by putting out 78,000 sites, but she has 2, right? So she's not, she's not working on, she's not doing all these crazy business model. She's not talking about trying to trick Google or anything like that. She's talking about working with Google, and that's just what she does. So when she did that stuff, I was tracking her down, trying to figure out what she was doing. And as it turned out, she was not doing anything, right? She was just building a business as a website, which again comes back down to some of the stuff we've been talking about.
And her site, I'm looking at her site right now. It's actually a very clean site. I'm able to see. I mean, it's not like all these ads popping up all over. Obviously, she has some, but I don't feel overwhelmed. It doesn't feel cluttered to me. And looking at her site, and it's colorful, but not so colorful that you lose it. And she's got the psychology of it as far as design, because it draws me right to the things that she wants to be drawn to. And it actually has a simplicity that's appealing.
Yeah, and apparently she's getting the visitors, and she's talking about something. Her subject matter is something that people want to know about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm willing to do something sort of away from the public eye in order to work on one thing, which is this website and this show. I'm not going to do 10 things. I'm not going to do 3 things. I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to monetize in one way, because it needs to be what you've been talking about. It needs to be a consistency and a consistent level of quality at something that people want. And so trying to do, I mean, you know, and every day, right? And I think the people who are listening to us and people who are on this call, we all know every day somebody's going to present you with a new angle. Hey, you know what? Hey, man. Hey, I just, you know, this is what I did, and I started doing it this way, and, you know, or, you know, this guy, you know, he started speaking publicly, and he added, oh, this guy wrote his Kindle book. And before you know it, you've added on 10 things to the one thing. Right, and the people who make it, they make it because of the one thing. It's like, you know, as I'm sure you are, and one of the things I know you're wrestling with is the fact you're talented, right? You're extremely talented, gifted singer.
Thank you.
And so, okay, I know I can go out and I can speak. Mm-hmm. I know I can do that. I know I could do that. I know I can write if I wanted to. I know I could do both of those, right? But so if I try to combine those two things and lose the focus on this one thing, even though I can do those two things, right, then the one thing never gets done. You know, we bring all this stuff. We bring all these, you know, I don't want to use gifts. I think that's kind of overused. We bring all this stuff that we can do. And when we hear stuff, we say, I could do that. Mm-hmm. Man, that would fit me perfect. And sure, yeah, it would.
But is it the right thing for you or for your marketing funnel or whatever it is you're trying to accomplish? Is it the right thing?
Whatever you're trying to accomplish. Right. No, that's exactly right.
You know what? I was just looking. You got me going on Lisa Irby. So I'm looking at another site, and it's her flatstomachexercises.com. Of course, I'm a woman. I'm curious. I want to know all this. And I noticed, again, the simplicity, the niche site, but she's got the. I didn't read the whole thing. I really was listening to you. I promise, Charles. But
no, that's all right. No.
But I scanned it, like her on her main page. Looks like a blog post. It's got a nice video. So there's a lot of multimedia going on here. And you're looking at it, and she's like dieting myths, and you know she's got me going. I'm thinking, wow, I should come back and read this. And then right at the bottom, free tummy tips of the week. And it's like I noticed that her opt-in form actually flows rather than so many websites. It's like a separate thing. It's like another section. It might be in the middle of the article, but it's kind of like a sidebar, unrelated. But the way her article flows, I can see where she has success because it's almost like it's a natural next step. You've watched the video. You've noticed that there's diet myths out there. And it's like, okay, I'm all ready. Now I'm going to exercise. And then, oh, the tummy. Of course I want the tummy tips because I want to make sure I'm getting it daily to keep me consistent. And that is brilliant. The simplicity and the flow and how it's woven together.
You know, she's kind of built on this model that just really worked for her and continues to build on it.
Mm-hmm. I don't think, there's a lot of great methods out there, but I still think it does have to take some percentage. I don't know what the percentage is. Some percentage of ingenuity, creativity, talent, whatever you want to call it, to mix with the method. It's not like the method alone is going to do it.
Yeah, right on. Right on. Yeah.
Well, Charles, this has been a wonderful chat. Different things
Yeah,
related
right
to
on.
that. That'll be excellent. Thank you so much, and thank you for you viewers watching us.
Yeah, right on, everybody. Thank you.
Don't you wanna kiss and hug me? Come on strong, go on and love me. Let's not waste that big old moon. Wake up and smell the perfume. Just say if you wanna be more than friends. Got some love I'd like to make. Baby, you can squeeze me, I won't break. We could be in a paradise, you and me. Until then, I'll remind you again. Just say when. Oh yeah, until then, let me remind you again. Just say when. Oh baby, just say when.